Good evening, everybody. I'm Jane Builders, and I am the president of the Skagit League of Women Voters. Welcome to this evening's candidate forum. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization which encourages informed and active participation in our government. This forum is part of our ongoing voter education effort to help voters make informed decisions for the upcoming elections. We hope you learn more about the candidates tonight through their statements and replies to our questions. Other ways to learn about the candidates are in the Skagit County Voters Pamphlet, candidates' websites, and articles, interviews in our wonderful local newspapers. I'll now turn the meeting over to Chris Litton.
A little bit of feedback. Sorry about that. Welcome, everybody. We wanted you to know that all candidates for these positions were contacted and invited to attend. I'll start by explaining some of our procedures for tonight. Each candidate is invited to make an opening and closing statement of 1.5 minutes each, and we'll have 1.5 minutes to answer each question, and we'll rotate the order of the candidates. The timekeepers are sitting in the front row. And like I said, you have 1.5 minutes for opening, closing, and questions. And they'll hold up a sign at 30 seconds, at 10 seconds, and then when time is up. When time's up, like I told the candidates, you can speak with whatever is left in your lungs in that sentence, and you can't draw another breath. And then you have to and I'll say thank you and move on. Personal references about other candidates are not acceptable and are out of order. Everybody turn off your cell phones and no recording of the candidates. Please remain quiet throughout the forum. No clapping, cheering, or calling out, with the exception that when the panel's done, we'll all give the candidates a round of applause. No campaign literature or signs are allowed in this room. And we wanted to let everybody know that the public was invited to submit questions to the League of Women Voters, and we considered those also. So we'll start with the candidates for Burlington City Council at large, and Joe DeGloria and Melissa Koski. I will read Joe DeGloria's opening statement. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for the opportunity to communicate with our constituents this evening. My name is Joe DeGloria, and I'm running for re-election to the Burlington City Council at large. Sorry to not be with you at all, but I'm recovering from a surgical procedure. Burlington has been my family's home for 4 generations. My wife of 27 years, Jana, and I raising our family here. Burlington and the greater Skagit Valley is a wonderful place to live, and we are proud to call it our home. Over the last 11 years, it has been my pleasure to serve my community on the Burlington City Council. While on council, I have gained valuable experience in city budgets, city operations, budgets, and knowledge of the unique challenges faced by local municipalities. I have acquired this experience through my participation on numerous committees like Public Works, Public Safety, Investments, and Audit and Finance. Furthermore, I've been elected Mayor Pro Tem by fellow council members for 6 of those years. I have been a consistent voice in advocating for accountability, fair taxation levels, and stewardship over public funds by supporting policies that positively impact the citizens and businesses of Burlington. With your support and vote, it will be my pleasure to continue to serve on the Burlington City Council. Thank you all for being here. And again, my name is Joe DeGloria, running for re-election of Burlington City Council. And now we'll turn to Melissa Koski, and she will give her opening statement.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. So, as you heard, I'm Melissa Koski, and I'm running for City Council because Burlington works best when more of us take part in it. Everyone wants to live in a village, and in this case, a village could be something like your city, it could be your neighborhood, your community, your church, every one of those things. So, but not everybody wants to do the work of being a villager, either due to barriers.
Can you talk up a little bit?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Our community depends on people who volunteer, who show up, who decide this place is worth tending to. Now we're kind of at a bit of a turning point. So between growth and we shape, and growth that shapes us. And as with many cities, Burlington has roads that need fixing, housing that needs balance, and people who deserve to be heard. I want a Burlington where families can stay, where people feel safe, and where City Hall is something you participate in, not just complain about. And what I mean by village, shared responsibility, visible results, and a government that listens before it acts.
Okay, Melissa.
Was that loud enough?
That was loud enough. Okay, Melissa Koski, first question. How do you plan to involve residents and businesses in the decision-making process in Burlington?
Yes. So there's a few things that I have. So I think that representation isn't just about who feels comfortable talking at the table. It's like who's walking into the room. So we can't build a resilient community if only a fraction of the residents feel heard. And we should encourage diverse participation that isn't about politics. It's about better problem solving. Different perspectives make smarter, fairer decisions. I think that we should be doing things like building a blog, having offsite meetings with people, getting to know people one-on-one, kind of talking with them. Social media, it can be things like going to events, talking with groups, getting their opinions, making sure that people are involved with the decisions that the council makes, and getting that feedback before we make those decisions. Because the more people that do that, the better off the city is.
Okay, next question. If you could change one thing in our zoning code in Burlington, what would it be and why?
Zoning codes. So, I'm a little stuck on the specific zoning codes. I've been focusing on SIP plans lately. So I would say zoning, I think we need to be flexible on zoning. I think that incentives and flexibility, depending on where we are, where in the city it is, we need to take into account not only the neighborhood and the piece of the city that we're looking at, we need to take a look at our goals, like what makes sense, what doesn't make sense, and we need to kind of apply that to any of the decisions that we are making overall.
Next question. Are currently proposed battery farms a proper use of public and private land in Skagit County? Why or why not?
Could you repeat that question?
Sure. Are currently proposed battery farms a proper use of public and private land in Skagit County? Why or why not?
I think that it's important to look at the data behind that. So if we have data that states that it makes sense and the people are for it, that's one thing. And then we need to kind of look at that. I don't have a personal opinion about why or why not. I would want to see the data that goes behind every one of those decisions and then get the public's perceptions on that.
Okay. Next question. If elected, what 3 steps would you take to put our city on firmer financial footing?
We need to look at the books, essentially. So we need to see where we are, take a look at everything. We need to see what is immediate. Because as of right now, we're all kind of watching our budgets at this point because everything is so tight and it's going to be getting worse. We need to be cautious about what we're spending. We don't want to we don't want to price anybody out of anything. So I think it's really kind of making sure that we are keeping people, making life affordable in Burlington, to be quite frank, and keeping it that way. And we need to see what's important, what can we do now, what needs to be put on a back burner, what we don't want to cause any, I think, extraneous expenses that are going to be incurred with some projects, for example. How do we get those projects going without raising taxes, for example, or things along those nature? What needs to get cut? What would stay? and so forth. So it's really taking a close look at like the budgets and the cost benefit analysis of each of those programs.
And you get to do a closing statement now for a minute and a half.
I never speak for a full minute and a half. So this isn't about titles or stepping stones into the larger political matrix that is currently fueling the anxiety of many, including myself. It's about taking care of the place that we call home. And we can't fix everything, but we can fix what's ours. Streets, parks, safety, a sense of belonging. And that's the job that I'm asking for. So we can keep building a community that actually believes and behaves like the village we all want to live in.
Let's give Melissa Koski Okay, panel 2, the Skagit Port District 2 Commissioner Position 2. We have 2 candidates, Keith Chaplin and Melanie Mankinger. Mac, oh, that wasn't even close when I said, and I knew that. Thank you.
Thanks. You too.
And we'll start with opening statements, a minute and a half, and we'll start with Keith Chaplin.
Good evening, and thank you for being here tonight. First, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for putting on this important forum. This is democracy in action, and I couldn't be more proud to see so many people here. I'm Keith Chaplin, and I'm running for Port of Skagit Commissioner because the Port needs leadership that works. Leadership that's accountable, transparent, and focused on results. When I've been out door knocking across Skagit County, I've spent 9 out of 10 conversations simply explaining what the Port even is. That's not a reflection of our residents. It's a failure of communication from the Port itself. I built my business, my family, and my public service career right here in this county. On the Burlington City Council, I made sure taxpayers saw a clear return on investment, from grants that built parks and playgrounds to infrastructure that supports growth. You can drive around Burlington and actually see the results of my leadership. One of my favorite accomplishments on council was spearheading the creation of a quarterly newsletter distributed to every resident of the city. My work on the council has led to endorsements from the past and present mayor of Burlington, Dr. Stickle, our primary opponent, and the majority of my council peers. That's the approach I'll take to the Port. Communicate clearly, invest wisely, and deliver visibly. Because when taxpayers know where their dollars go and can see the results, trust grows and progress follows. I'm not running to learn on the job. I'm running to get to work, to rebuild communication, strengthen accountability, and ensure the Port of Skagit works for everyone.
Thank you. Melanie?
Good evening. My name is Melanie Mankemeyer, and I'm the incumbent Port of Skagit Commissioner for District 2. I was honored to be appointed last November following the untimely demise of my predecessor. I've lived in Skagit County for nearly 30 years with my husband Scott and our rescue huskies. Before joining the Port, I was a principal engineer at Wilson Engineering, where I specialized in drinking water systems and long-range capital planning. I hold a bachelor's degree in aeronautical engineering and a master's in civil engineering. Over my 3 decades of experience on public projects in Western Washington, I've managed multi-million-dollar budgets, navigated complex regulations, led interdisciplinary teams, and helped communities grow. I have completed dozens and dozens of projects from conception through construction. I have a clear understanding of how to ensure the Port works efficiently for our community. Looking ahead, my priorities are to continue developing our business centers, revitalize the LaConner Marina, create educational and housing opportunities, and grow local businesses and agriculture throughout Skagit County. I'm not a career politician. I'm an engineer who believes in practical solutions, long-term planning, and decisions made with integrity and transparency. I joined the Port because I believe deeply in its role as a driver of jobs, growth, and opportunity, and that my skills would benefit the Port and its mission.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to the questions. First question. One of the roles of the commissioners is to evaluate the Port's executive director's performance. How do you propose the board accomplish this task? And we'll begin with Melanie.
Funny you should bring this up is because we were just going through that process at our last board meeting. I believe that the board, the role of the commissioner is to evaluate the performance of the executive director based on the actions that they have accomplished throughout the year, their management of the staff, and showing continual improvement in areas like communication.
Okay. Keith, same question.
So how I evaluate the executive director is that I would make sure by measuring outcomes. I think it's important to have key performance indicators. Did the activities we're doing create jobs? Did they attract investment? Did they strengthen our community? Does our community know about what's happening? Each project should have clear metrics, and the executive director's job is to make sure that that's happening. I would also make sure that the executive director is doing all the comprehensive planning they can be doing, making sure that we are producing a capital improvement plan for every port property, not just the airport, making sure that we are pursuing all the planning we can do to make sure that we are situated to get the grants when they become available, and to make sure that staffing is happy, and to make sure that we have a balanced budget. One of the biggest issues I've seen with the port is that the port is in the red until property taxes are collected. I would want to make sure that the port is being financially responsible with our money, that they are talking with constituents and making sure that they're being fiscally strong before asking for property tax increases, which is why I will vote no on any property tax increases moving forward for the first year until we have a plan. Thank you.
Okay, second question. How will you balance the need to maintain existing infrastructure with investing in new projects? And we'll begin with Keith.
Kind of piggybacks on what I was just talking about. The port, like I said, is in the red every year until property tax is collected. I would make sure that we are fiscally responsible. We're running a tight ship, that the port is able to conduct its business without asking constituents in the county for that extra tax money. I think that based on my door knocking and going out and talking with constituents, the fact that everybody in this county is paying a significant amount of their money, of their property taxes, go to the port, I would make sure that before we ask taxpayers for another dime, we have a solid plan we're communicating to them.
Thank you. Melanie, same question?
Repeat the question, please.
Yes. How will you balance the need to maintain existing infrastructure with investing in new projects?
Maintaining existing infrastructure is probably a higher priority than creating new infrastructure and new projects, because if you don't maintain what you have, then it all falls apart and you're working in emergency modes. The port, 10% of its capital budget and only 20% of its operational budget are taxes. The rest of it is coming from grants and loans and other sources. And we are working on a financial plan that will let us evaluate the investments against the infrastructure maintenance and figure out whether a new investment will generate enough income to offset the costs and provide additional revenue for future projects.
Okay, next question. How do you plan to balance the port's economic development goals with environmental stewardship and community needs? And we'll begin with Melanie.
The port does this with every project that they undertake. They've already set aside nearly 750 acres of high-quality environmental wetlands as part of the projects that they've been undertaking at the port. It's just an innate part of how we do our planning for future projects.
Hey, Keith, same question.
Could you repeat it one more time?
I sure will. How do you plan to balance the port's economic development goals with environmental stewardship and community needs?
Yeah, this is a really important question. I sat in on the Cedro Woolley forums yesterday, and I heard the term the best mess. And I'm not sure if you're gonna ask a question about best and that coming up, but we'll talk about it again. This is important. So I'm in support of what the port and the local jurisdictions have done as far as placing a moratorium on any battery infrastructure, because there are huge potential environmental impacts. And making sure that any project, like the BEST project or the GoldenEye project, are being thoroughly vetted, communicated to the public so they know what they're looking at and what's going to be happening. It's going to be a tough job. I think the port is in a spot where they're trying to create jobs and trying to create industry and help those businesses happen. But I think that making decisions in haste would definitely be something I would not be a fan of. A very thorough public engagement process for any developments, especially something that could be as catastrophic as the BEST project, would be important.
Thank you. Okay, last question. How important is transparency and public engagement in port decision-making? How will you work to ensure the public feels they are heard and are being transparent? And we will start with Keith.
So glad you asked that question. So my top priority, what I've been talking about, is building trust through transparency, communication, and measurable results. The port should be regularly showing taxpayers what's being built, who benefits from that, and how it supports our local economy. Doing the planning, the comprehensive, so as far as how to do that, doing the planning, doing the comprehensive planning so that we are set up and talking with local jurisdictions. I sat on the Burlington City Council for 5 years. Not once did I ever see a representative of the Port of Skagit in the City Council meeting. I've talked to people in Mount Vernon, same issue. The Port of Skagit needs to be communicating with the local jurisdictions, Burlington, Cedro Woolley, Concrete, Mount Vernon, Burlington. I would also make sure that the website is more navigable. I tried to go to the regularly scheduled port meeting this week, and it was rescheduled. The only notification that was made was a tiny little classified ad in the end of the newspaper. Their website didn't have a flyer saying, hey, the meeting's been rescheduled. I would make sure that, I sat in on a port meeting 2 months ago, and there was forward-facing retail businesses who were complaining that they don't have signage. They've been asking for signage for 9 years to direct to the businesses at the port, and the commissioners have not done anything about it. I will make that change.
Melanie, same question.
So with a 3-member board, transparency is innate because we can't have 2 of us talking to each other without having it be a quorum. I agree, our website is hard to navigate. I agree, we need to be out there talking to more of our fellow entities. And actually, I was at the LaConner council meeting on Tuesday as part of this, and we're getting out and meeting with the Rotaries and the Kiwanis. We need to do better, and it's something that we're working on. Takes time to get things to get that shit moving, and the port knows it has an image problem, and that everybody thinks that you say Port of Skagit, and what do people think of? They think of the trails. They don't know that we're responsible for all of this economic development and bringing jobs to the community and bringing money to the community that then turns into additional revenue and return on investment. And yeah, we need to do better, and I'm working on it.
Okay, we're gonna move to closing statements. Melanie Mankemeyer
Thank you.
is gonna go first.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters and to all of you for being here tonight. I stand with our first responders, and I'm proud to have the endorsement of Alger Fire Commissioner Chris England. I support genuine Skagit in our local businesses, and I've championed fiscally responsible government. That's why I'm honored to be endorsed by the Washington State Farm Bureau, County Commissioner Lisa Janicki, LaConner Mayor Marna Hanneman, and Cedar Woolley Councilman Joe Burns. I work with everyone who wants to make Skagit County a better place to live, work, and play, and I always look at the big picture. Because of that, I've earned the endorsements of Patsy Martin, the former Port Executive Director, and Bonnie Bowers, Port of Anacortes Commissioner and former police chief. I'm an engineer, so I'm a problem solver by nature. As a commissioner, I make it a point to listen. I believe in studying the facts and understanding how everything fits together before making policy decisions. My years of experience in public works and planning make me the most qualified candidate to serve as your Port Commissioner for District 2. As a resident of Skagit County, I care deeply about this community and will always put it first. I appreciate your time tonight and hope you'll vote for me, Melanie Mankemeyer, the candidate with the last name you can't pronounce.
You heard that last time. It's 50-50. Keith Chapman for a closing statement.
As we close tonight, I want to thank the League of Women Voters, Melanie, and everyone here for taking time to learn about my vision for the Port of Skagit, because democracy matters. I built my career on getting things done, not talking about them. On the Burlington City Council, I worked with leadership to overcome challenges, secure funding, and delivered projects that I am so proud of today. That's what I'll do at the Port of Skagit. Focus on visible results, strong communication, and responsible stewardship of public resources that all residents of Skagit County can be proud of. When I'm at the door, people tell me they don't know what the Port does, and that's a failure of leadership. It's time to change that by showing our residents that their tax dollars are driving real progress right here at home. I would show that dedication to real change by voting no on any property tax increases in my first year and any following year unless we have a solid communication plan, key performance indicators, and metrics to easily explain to residents where their hard-earned tax dollars are going. I bring the hands-on experience, the business sense, and the proven record to make that happen. Together, we can build a port that's transparent, effective, and trusted. I'm Keith Chaplin, and I'll bring leadership that works to the Port of Skagit. Thank you.
Let's give these candidates a round of applause. Okay, Public Hospital District 1, Commissioner position 2 and 4. If you come forward, thanks you guys. Okay, Public Hospital District 1, Commissioner position 2, Sam Irons and Jeff Miller. Public Hospital District 1, Commissioner position 4, Barb Jensen and Dale Reagan. We'll start with opening statements and we'll begin with Sam Irons.
Okay. I'm Sam Irons. Thank you. I'll try to speak up. I have a soft voice, so bear with me on that. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces. Thank you all for being here, for participating in democracy and learning about local elections and voting. It's very important. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a fierce advocate for workers, patients, caregivers, and overall health equity for all. I've spent my life's work striving for creating healthy and thriving communities, for creating healthy and thriving communities by working with people in the community where they're at, providing resources and education, listening to client voice and choice, and supporting them through various systems. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to utilize my experience and collaborate with others to ensure we're all thriving together. Thank you.
Okay, Jeff Miller.
Yes, good evening. I'm often asked, what does the hospital commissioner do? One of our principal responsibilities is oversight of the chief executive officer. another is the setting of the SRH's Skagit Regional Health Strategy. About 8 years ago, my fellow commissioners and I decided it was time for a management and strategy change at SRH. We hired a new CEO and charged him with a strategic goal of growing our patient volumes. The results have been remarkable. This year, we expect our 2 hospitals and 24 clinics will see more than a record-breaking 600,000 hospital admissions and clinical visits. We've expanded our workforce to 3,400, including almost 1,000 licensed healthcare professionals. And our employee morale is at an all-time high. We now generate a small operating profit at an astonishing $750 million in projected 2025 collections. So why did we select growth as our strategic imperative? Because growth allows us to deal with staggering increases in healthcare costs. As we increase growth in patient care, we're able to spread our continuing demands for more capital investments and high overhead expenses over a greater number of patient procedures. This reduces our patient costs and provides patients greater access to our healthcare services.
Thank you. Time's up. And just watch the timekeeper in the front row.
I saw.
Okay, Barb Jensen.
Thank you for having
Jansen,
us,
right?
Jensen. Yes.
Okay.
Thanks for having us and League of Women Voters for arranging this, and I'm really impressed to see so many people taking time to be here. So my name is Barb Jensen, and I've been a nurse and health care leader for over 30 years, with most of my career right here in Skagit County. I've developed a comprehensive understanding of clinical care, operations, and governance that really prepares me to serve as a hospital commissioner. I was the director of oncology, diagnostic imaging, and palliative care at Skagit Regional Health, and I've overseen strategic plans, budgets, and accreditation surveys. Service expansion to meet community needs was something that we were always very mindful of. My time as interim chief nurse really deepened my experience to system-wide strategy and the quality improvement that needs to be something that we continuously monitor and strive for as a healthcare organization. I have collaborated with Chelan Hospital and served as an interim commissioner there and was really appreciative to gain that other side of the spectrum knowledge of the governance as opposed to operations of healthcare. But I really will bring balanced insight to both the financial, the frontline care, and executive decision-making that's really essential to guide our hospital through a very difficult time ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm going to read a statement from Dale Reagan. As a Skagit Regional Hospital Board Commissioner, I am serving as a member of the Finance Committee and the Executive Quality Oversight Council. These meetings are very detailed reports of the most important hospital activities. In the last few years, SRH has opened 2 urgent care centers and a surgery center, providing more timely care for the patients. Typically, urgent care visits are very efficient, and the surgery center goal is to provide day operation opportunities for patrons to arrive in the morning, receive care such as hip and knee replacements, and be home by dinner. Efficient, timely health care is a top priority for all of SRH services. As our operational area population increases, it is very important that the SRH board provides understanding of the demands of healthcare, and that a top priority of our board. And I just want to remind everybody to talk as loud as you can. If you feel better standing up to talk, if you think project more, I know people are having trouble hearing in the back row or in the back. We're going to move on to questions. First question: what are the most significant challenges facing our hospital district in the coming years? How do you propose to address them? And we'll begin with Jeff Miller.
I mentioned one of the most important issues we face is rising healthcare costs. Another is access. We need to provide the best access we can for our patients. We're trying to reduce those times it takes to get a patient from diagnosis into surgery when it's an elective surgery. Finally, there's an issue of quality. We spend a lot of time as board members devoted to listening and learning about our efforts to ensure that the care we provide is high quality. So when you combine the issues of finance, raising enough money to keep the operation going, access, and then finally to quality. It's a very complex business. It's probably one of the most complex businesses I've ever been involved in. Our management team does a great job. The board does a great job learning as much as they can about these issues.
Same question.
Yes, thank you. If you can't hear in the back, could you just raise your hand and we'll know to speak a little louder? Great. So I think that one of the most challenging things the healthcare system faces, and certainly Skagit will, is balancing the funding with the caregiving. You have to create a healthy bottom line in order to keep people healthy. So we have to really rely on our management team, on the entire healthcare organization to row the same way. We need to embrace technology, we need to embrace innovation, because the other challenge is to keep a workforce that is engaged and empowered. We want the people caring for our community to want to be here and to be proud of the hospital and the healthcare system that they are building. So keeping those two things in mind, balancing the funding and making sure that we're not cutting services that are essential to our community, we're not cutting access, and we're keeping our employees engaged so that we don't have the expense of turnover and recruitment that will undercut everything that we try to build together as a hospital.
Okay, Sam Irons, same question.
Can you please repeat the question?
Sure. What are the most significant challenges facing our hospital district in the coming years? How do you propose to address them?
I'll try to speak louder. I think a big thing is just like uncertainty across the board, especially with all the cuts to Medicaid and Medicare happening right now, and that's a huge funding source for the hospital district. And people rely on that for the care, and also it's the largest employer in the county. So we need to be able to take care of all of the patients equitably and affordably, make sure everyone has access to the care, and also take care of all the workers and make sure that they're able to have good benefits and fair wages and adequate staffing in order to do the work in the community. And make sure, and in order to do this, along with that, also collaborating with other community partners, organizations that are currently working with the hospital, and maybe other ones that we haven't thought of yet, just to ensure that there's continuity of care throughout the community. So a lot of things are very interconnected. For example, increasing adequate staffing and beds at the hospital, improving triage will also help with like first responder, firefighter, EMT ability to go on more calls instead of sitting at the wall at the hospital. And so just like improving certain things can just improve the overall well-being in the community overall.
Thank you. Okay, next question. How will you promote transparency and accountability with the hospital district? And we'll begin with Barb Jansen.
So I think transparency is hard to promote if you can't engage the people that need to hear what you're saying. So I think really developing a communication plan that not only first communicates to the staff, to the providers, to the healthcare workers, what our vision is, but then asking them, how do we get that message out? Because if no one's listening, you can be as transparent as you want, and you're not going to get your message out. So I think really engaging our workforce and then looking to the community to determine what's the best way for them to understand the challenges we're facing and to learn about what we're trying to do to meet those challenges.
Okay, Sam Irons.
Yes, for transparency, that has come up a lot. Thank you. So a lot of the time over this campaign that I've been going out in the community, going to events, talking with people, doorbelling, a lot of them, it's been a lot of conversation about what is the hospital district, what do they do? Didn't know it was a public hospital district, so a lot of like education around that, how to make sure their voices are heard. I really want to thank everyone who has talked with me about it and shared their stories, because that is so important. And I think that it would be good for the hospital district to be able to provide more opportunity for people to do that in a welcome setting. So whether that's more open communication in person, or more ways to get that input, allowing like interpreter opportunities too, so we can hear from other communities that we might not always be hearing from, and just increasing visibility across the board throughout the whole community, and that anyone can go to monthly meetings and get information and share input. So I think that is a really important thing that I would like to improve.
Thank you. Jeff Miller, same question.
Transparency is essential. We're a municipal corporation. We're owned by the owners of our district. Our management team's done a great job of improving communications with our employees. When I joined the organization, employee morale was not high. Our new management team has really adopted some great techniques for improving management's communication with and among our employees. For instance, we have quarterly forums where any employee can ask any question of any of our senior executive team. Certainly, the public is always invited to our public meetings. We have 7 commissioners. We'd be happy to talk to any of you about what we're doing and what we've achieved and what our challenges are. So there's a universal commitment to transparency.
Okay. How will you prioritize the hospital district's financial health, particularly with potential cuts to Medicaid, while ensuring continued access to quality care for all residents? And we'll start with Sam Irons.
So for ensuring the financial funding, I think it would be important to, yes, I think that's going to be a huge issue ongoing with all the cuts that are happening. So to make sure that like financial support is available for people, and then other collaborations happening with other organizations and clinics in the community to make sure that we're all providing the care in order for everyone to access. I think looking into how other places have been successful with the funding is really important. Listening and yeah, sorry.
Jeff Miller.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. How will you prioritize the hospital district's financial health, particularly with potential cuts to Medicaid, while ensuring continued access to quality care for all residents?
Well, as I mentioned, and it is an issue. I mean, the financing an organization that's expensive as healthcare one is a challenge, especially when margins, even when you have a margin, are low. Our margin is probably typical of a typical grocery store. So it's a very small amount of margin, and we use all of it for capital improvements. So we're constantly looking for ways to reduce costs and increase volumes. And I mentioned a lot about volumes in my opening statement, but we believe that increasing volumes, increasing our footprint, increasing access allows us to spread fixed costs, which are high. Our capital costs are high, our overhead is high. If we can spread those fixed costs across more procedures, we can better maintain the cost of those procedures, and the public benefits from that. So we are constantly focused on this issue of finance. It's a huge issue for all of healthcare, not just Skagit Regional Health. We've done an excellent job, but we can always do better. I've been on the finance committee as chairman for almost my entire tenure. We constantly focus on that bottom line, operating profit and expenses.
Barb Jansen.
So I think that someone once told me, who was in executive leadership from a faith-based hospital system, they used to say, no money, no mission. So we have, as a healthcare organization at Skagit Regional Health, always paid attention to the bottom line. And we did this by keeping our leaders accountable, providing them with the data they needed to make decisions that used their resources to the utmost highest and best use of both their workforce, having everyone who is licensed working to the top of that licensure, to employing innovation and technology as we go into the world of AI and all these other scary places. We have to be willing to look at and to innovate, to save precious time of our workforce to do a lot of things that we can have done for us. So innovation, collaborating with the local districts around us to make sure that while we want to keep our market and we want to keep people coming to Skagit and grow our volumes, we also need to be able to have support from local districts in a collaborative way so there's not so much duplication and that we're really driving patients to the best facility for their care.
Okay, last question. How will you engage with the community to understand their healthcare concerns and needs? And we'll begin with Jeff Miller.
Well, I think engaging with the community is essential. We serve the community, so if there's any deficit in our engagement, that should be a focus of our management team. And we have a very robust marketing program. We do a lot of marketing now. We have been very effective in communicating the services we offer, and the type when we hire new physicians, we introduce them to the public. So we think that's an essential element to our success, is engaging the community. The community is our customer base. The communities that represent the people that are using our services. So it's essential that we continue to do that. And it certainly is a focus of our marketing group.
Barb Jansen.
I think that being present, making sure that at every opportunity we show up and we are open to questions, comments, stories, just listening to what concerns the community has, and then we can provide them with the information that they need to know that the hospital is hearing what their concerns are and we're doing something about it. So I think just having every opportunity, as Jeff mentioned, through our marketing department and getting the word out, what we're doing and that we're listening to what people need.
Hey, Sam Irons.
Okay, sorry about that brain fog earlier. I want to kind of roll that into this question. Sorry. So along with that bit about the financial and then ongoing about hearing more public input, I have talked a lot with people while doorbelling, and one gal I talked to who's an RN, she mentioned lots of creative ideas and was even willing to help with like a demonstration project for training with maybe local college students or people to help kind of figure out and get creative with ways to improve the hospital district. So I think listening to people and their ideas, and then those can in turn help with things like maybe struggles or around like financial, or improve other aspects of the hospital district. And so I think continuing to reach out to the community and provide opportunities to listen to people, and things like health walks, getting people from all different areas of the community and different backgrounds, bringing everyone to the table, making sure everyone has a voice and is heard, but also able to speak and provide input is super important.
Thank you. We're going to have our closing statements now, and we'll begin with Barb Jansen.
I'm Barb Jensen. I'm a nurse. I have a bachelor's, I have a master's, but most importantly, I'm running for commissioner because I really care about the healthcare in this community. I've raised my family here and now my grandkids, and I want there to be great availability from birth to end of life for everyone that calls this place home. I have decades of experience as a nurse, as a healthcare leader. I've been by the bedside and I've been in the boardroom, and I understand patient needs, workforce challenges, and the strategy that hospitals must come up with in order to be successful as we move forward in this dicey time. So my priorities for Skagit are really straightforward. We need to strengthen access to care for all. We need to engage and empower our workforce. And we need to embrace innovation and collaboration so that we can be sustainable as the priority healthcare resource in Skagit County.
Okay, Sam Irons for your closing statement.
I just wanted to thank everyone again for being here and listening. I've been learning so much about this community and during this campaign, and had the pleasure of meeting so many people and the honor of hearing their stories, concerns, feedback, and answering questions. It's really inspired to continue the journey for advocacy and service. And I'm really hoping to get the opportunity to be in this role, to speak up when needed, ask important questions, and continue advocating for the health and well-being for everyone in our community. And please reach out for any more questions or to talk more. Public speaking isn't my best strong suit. And this is my first time in running for public office. So I appreciate the patience with that. But I have done so much work in community health and social work field. So the clients I've always worked with are an inspiration to me. I quit that work to be a caregiver for my mom, who recently passed away from cancer. So I've learned a lot about the different systems, and I want to be an advocate for other people too. I'll be at Union Block Bistro Sunday 12 to 1 if anyone wants to come and chat. I'd love to meet up and talk with you. Thank you so much.
Jeff Miller for your closing statement.
I've been honored to be a commissioner. It is vital to understand that Skagit Regional Health is owned by the citizens of our hospital district. My focus is not on investors or large commercial healthcare organizations, but on you. I work for you and am dedicated to ensuring that Skagit Regional Health continues to fulfill its mission of providing excellent healthcare always. Thank you.
Okay, let's give them a round of applause. Mount Vernon Council was Ward 1, Ward 2, and at-large positions. Good job.
Yeah, fully. Yeah, exactly. I'll take the minutes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, we are going to start with our opening statements, 1.5 minutes, and we will start with Anthony Stefano.
Yeah,
No.
DeStefano, good.
DeStefano.
Either way, you're the first person that's mispronounced it. So,
Oh.
so sorry. My name is Anthony DeStefano. I'm a state worker in the transportation for Washington State Ferries. I've worked in tribal departments up in Alaska. I've worked in emergency response for COVID and avian flu response. And I'm here running for Mount Vernon City Council because I believe in three things. We should have a city that is safe and accessible to everybody. We should live in a city where nobody disappears, whether you're elderly, whether you're immigrant status, whether you're houseless, you have health problems. No one should be disappearing. We should always be focusing on everybody as a whole. And we need to live in a city that's affordable and accessible for housing. We have a housing crisis that's very obvious. We have a missing middle where there's no such thing in Mount Vernon as a starter home. This disappeared in the past 10 years. that, we had starter homes, people could say, we're just gonna move on from this. Now people are occupying low, what would normally consider like low rental, low income areas as a housing solution for middle-class income. And there's nothing available for them. So we have many priorities we need to focus on. And I just wanted to use this introduction to kind of give you a background about who I am and the things I'm concerned about. And I deeply appreciate the League of Women Voters and everybody for showing up here today.
Okay. Kind of out of order, but that's okay. We'll go to Hannah Oliver next.
Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Oliver. I'm running for Mount Vernon City Council Ward 2, Position 2. I am running because I love Mount Vernon. I have lived here basically my entire life. I moved here when I was about 9.5 months old. I went to Mount Vernon schools, I went to Skagit, I then got a bachelor's in political science at Central, and then a master's in teaching about Western. My background is in legislative advocacy and in education. So not only do I care about our local government and our government at all levels, I teach it. I think it's really, really important that we are all involved in our local government. I'm on the board of Skagit Gleaners. I run our community garden over in Burlington. I'm mayor appointed to the Mount Vernon Arts Commission. I do a ton of work locally. I love Mount Vernon, and I think it's time that we all really just step up and support our community where we can.
Okay, Adam Pearson.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Adam Pearson. My wife, Chelsea, and I have been married for 20 years next June. We have 3 beautiful children, 11, 8, and 3.5. So you can all imagine what my house is like at this moment. And I'm a 5th generation resident of Mount Vernon. I'm running for city council because I really deeply care about this community. I see so much potential in this community. We have so much opportunity ahead of us, but we also have an uphill climb. So as many of you know, we have a massive budget deficit at the city of Mount Vernon. As Anthony alluded, we also have a massive housing affordability crisis, and I want to help be part of the solutions to these issues that we face. I'm not a politician. I have spent 20 years in the private sector leading businesses, budgets, and teams through multiple market cycles, through crises, through failures and success. I'm not afraid of these issues, so I look forward to tackling them head on. I was also a mayor-appointed advisor for our comprehensive plan update for housing, land use, transportation, and economic development. So I have been at the table for the past year working through the goals and policies that will guide our city forward as we grow. I look forward to serving you if you allow me, and thank you for the time.
Okay. I'm going to read a statement from Demi Diamond. I'm disappointed I can't be with you in person tonight as I recover from an illness, but my heart is with our community and I'm grateful to share my message with you in this way. Demi Diamond, and I am honored to be your candidate for Mount Vernon City Council. I started this campaign because I believe our community deserves nonpartisan leadership that listens, takes action, and provides transparency. I live these values every day as a licensed massage therapist, a licensed practical nurse, and a civil service commissioner. I grew up in Conway, met my husband Troy in high school, and we have been married for 29 years. Together we have raised 2 wonderful sons who inspire me to give back to the place we call home. Through my 34 years of work, volunteering, and coaching here in Mount Vernon, I have seen firsthand what matters most to our residents: affordable housing solutions, strong public safety, and a city that remains financially responsible. I'm not here to promise quick fixes. I'm here to work for thoughtful inclusion and lasting change that reflects the voices of everyone in our community. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to speak with you all. And we'll move to opening statement for Stephanie Lajunas.
Great job, Chris.
Is that okay?
That's great.
Okay, I'm going
Nailed
to
it.
use your first
Nailed
names
it.
from now on.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for participating in the democratic process. I'm such a
politics nerd, and it makes me just happy beyond belief to see this room so full of people. As a city council member, I want to achieve 3 things. Accessibility for all of our residents. I work with young adults and adolescents with developmental and intellectual disabilities, and they use this city hard. They love the library, they use the buses, they use the parks, they use the recreation department. They are involved in the city, and I want a city that works for them and for all of us. I think the most marginalized people are the canaries in the coal mine, and they determine what kind of systems work best for the majority of us. We will all be disabled someday, and I think that we all need a system of government that works for everyone. My second point is a city, like Anthony said, where no one disappears. We need to enfranchise our elderly, make sure that our people with addiction and mental health challenges are supported with robust support services. We need to make sure that we are a city that honors its people with the celebrations and the cultural events that make sense for our people. We are a beautiful and vibrant city with so many immigrants that we need to protect and serve. Thank you.
Okay, we are going to move to our first question. If elected, what 3 steps would you take to put Mount Vernon on firmer financial footing? And we'll begin with Adam.
Well, thank you for the question. It's quite a big one, if I'm being quite honest. At the City of Mount Vernon, I mentioned our budget crisis. It's about $6 million budget gap. We plugged, I think, about half of that with a hiring freeze earlier in the year. But it's a Band-Aid. It is not a long-term solution. What we really need to do in the long term, I believe, is focus on growth. I believe if you're not growing, then you are dying. And there are some things that we can do to do that, to grow our commercial property tax base and our commercial sales tax base. So if you think about a $50 million mixed use project, it generates a lot more in terms of property tax and also sales tax than does a $1 million parking lot. And we have a lot of $1 million parking lots in the city of Mount Vernon, underutilized property that could be generating revenue for us if we get competitive and see that through. So,
Hey, Hannah, same question.
I think one thing that will be really important for us is building coalition with other local organizations, with other levels of government, working with the county, working with the state, working with the federal government to really making sure that we meet the basic needs of our residents. And then beyond that, I think we need to I don't know. I think, so the city is having a hard time financially, right? And so are our residents. So when we think about what we want to put money towards, I really want to put money towards things that support our residents through what is going on right now in the country. So making sure that we have affordable housing, making sure that we have accessible transportation that's actually usable by the people that live here, making sure that we have the basic services, people can have access to food, that we keep our senior center open. I think there's a lot of things that we will really need to look at, and I think we need to focus on the things that really provide basic services to our residents.
Okay, Stephanie, same question.
All right. So like Hannah said, I think that there are lots of organizations, NGOs, and other agencies in our area that have this dialed in already. We can partner with them, people who are on the ground, boots on the ground, already doing this work. We can partner with them. I think that one way that we can also cut down on expenses, I talked to Fire Chief Harris. He said he was very interested in establishing a fire district instead of a fire department within Mount Vernon. We trade so many services with Burlington every year, and he is very much in favor of a fire district that can share those expenses. I think that's a great idea. We need to listen to experts like Chief Harris, people who are on the ground working every day and know what their budgets are, know where the deficits are, and can make plans to save us some money. Also,
nobody wants to say it out loud, but we need to tax the rich, right? I think that we are in a regressive tax situation right now, and we can be in a progressive tax situation right now where people who make over $1 million per year can pay a higher tax rate to support the services that they also enjoy, by the way. Another one is just to, like, Hannah said, to make sure that we are focusing on the policies that are already in place that support our residents to make sure that they are thriving, because people who are thriving contribute to the economy in a positive way.
Thank you. Anthony, same question.
I hope y'all forgive a little political theater. This is a great question because, like, I have the budget and the capital improvement budget. I just want to show everybody what work has already been done. This is about 1,500 pages I've been slogging through, and it's great fun. I have another 1,500 pages of the comprehensive plan that we're going to have to be working on. We have it's been going on since 2016. And we have an update that's up that requires public participation for it to be effective for the people. So we already have a really good background of what we need to do. Government is slow but intentional, and it's very difficult to see some of these like effects happen in a way that we want it to manifest in a quick way. But I have a pretty simple concept is that I think housing is economic development. I think we need places for workers to live. I think by the very fact of building houses locally, we're going to have more. And I am not an economist, but I do know that sometimes you don't have to raise prices. Sometimes you can have more customers. So the more houses that we build, the larger tax base we have. And that's the thing that we need to be concentrating on. And that's going to be three things because, it's actually like Adam was referring to, it's a big concept and big question. So we can talk about cutting and ripping and all these things, but we can't balance our budgets based on cutting labor. We can't cut maintenance, and we can't cut training. Those are the three flexible costs that people depend upon normally to balance a budget, and we need to stop doing that.
Thank you. Next question. If you could change one thing in Mount Vernon's zoning code, what would it be and why? And we'll begin with Hannah.
Thank you. I think one thing that I would change is increasing our multi-use zoning. In the neighborhood that I live in, my specific little strip is just multifamily. So my lot could be one house like it is now. It could be a small duplex, triplex. That's great. About, 5 feet away from my lot, we have a convenience store. And it is really, really nice to be able to walk to somewhere to get necessities. The other day, I was baking some banana bread because we had way too many bananas that were not looking too good. And I just walked over to the corner store and I got the ingredients that I needed. So things like that I think are really important. A lot of the new housing that we've been seeing, not just here in Skagit County, but across the country, a lot of it is just single-family homes, large single-family home on a large lot. It's not affordable for the people. It's not even what we even need here in Skagit County. And we really need to be thinking about adding more duplexes, triplexes, mixed-use areas, because it's better, it's more walkable, it's more affordable, and it's better here for Skagit County and Mount Vernon specifically.
Stephanie, same question.
Yeah, so similar to Hannah, when my kids were very young, I had a 2-year-old and a toddler, and the only place I could walk to get a cup of coffee was the hospital. And that was demoralizing. I would have loved to have a place where there were retail spots or a cafe on the bottom floor and people could utilize the top floors for apartments, for condos. Not everybody wants a yard. Not everybody can have a yard. Not everybody has a family. There are plenty of singles and couples who live in our area. We have the Mount Vernon School District and the hospital are our largest employers. And a lot of those people don't need a yard. They don't need a large lot. I would love to see mixed use buildings popping up in our area. I would also love to see, similar to what the city of Cedar-Woolley has done, a compact catalog that you can choose from to select an ADU that you can build on your property. If you have a kid who is not college bound yet, if you have a mom or dad who is wanting to live on your property, you can walk into their office, you can select a building plan, and you can walk out that day with a permit. I think that is excellent, and that's what our city needs. We have so many people living on large lots who want to build an ADU to support their families, and they aren't allowed to do that. That's a shame, and I think we can change that.
Anthony, same question?
Repeat that, please.
Sure. If you could change one thing in Mount Vernon zoning code, what would it be and why?
I was very lucky to be able to talk to people in the planning department and understand that there is a long-term process that's been going on that we need to be supporting the professionals that we have in our agency right now. I'm also not a planner. I'm not an economist. I'm not a planner. Fortunately, we are staffed with an incredible amount of deeply institutional knowledgeable folks who've been there for decades that do know how we need to go about it. But they need to be interfacing with the council, and they need to be interfacing more with the people that they're representing. So when we think of what we need in terms of zoning and housing, I'd like to focus on things like townhomes and, again, those starter type homes, and something that's a little more transitional, because when we have people occupying rentals when they could be buying, that's a very serious problem. So anything that is preventing townhome production or something that most single families would be very content to move into in the beginning of their family, or workers or temporary people that they can still gain capital, anything that's preventing that from happening, that's where I'd like to focus on.
Adam, same question?
So this is the work that I've been doing for the last year in this room with our builders and our affordable housing developers and our social services and agencies to really go line by line through goal and policy and line of the zoning code to understand what needs to change in Mount Vernon to break through the glut that we have and the desperate need that we have for more housing to get developed. As Anthony mentioned, missing middle housing. Historically, all the most naturally affordable types of housing have been illegal to build, either explicitly or just functionally speaking, based on zoning rules and regulations. That, fortunately, we don't have to change that too much because the state of Washington is mandating it, and I'm encouraged by that. I, like Hannah, want to see more mixed use, more density in our existing infrastructure, so we don't continue to sprawl out into our natural lands, but that we really focus it where we already have existing infrastructure. And honestly, the zoning map that we have in Mount Vernon, as far as I can tell, really reflects existing conditions, not how we want it to look going forward. And so it's about 15 shades of beige. If you've looked at it, it's really hard to tell what zone is where and where it crosses and where it changes. It's really difficult to follow. So just simplification of it overall. And then there's a lot of things that end up in the code over time that are kind of poison pills. So you think you can do one thing and you can't do it because of something else written over here years ago. And we need to drop things that don't serve us any longer in the code. So.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Since the public is at the top of the Mount Vernon City organizational chart, specifically, how do you plan to keep residents engaged in meaningful ways? And we'll begin with Stephanie.
Oh gosh, that's my favorite thing to do. So, every single campaign that I've ever volunteered for, I've been the doorbeller. I love going to people's houses. I love knocking on their doors. I love looking at their weird furniture and smelling their dinners. I love to talk to people. I love to talk to my neighbors. They are my absolute favorite people in the world, every single one of them. I have so many great conversations, and I love to engage them. I love to meet them where they are at. I think that that's the most important thing. People these days just don't have the time to show up to forums and things like that. You guys are amazing for doing it, but not everybody can do it, right? We're all working 2 jobs. We're all trying to manage families and extracurriculars with our kids and all of that stuff. So I love to have things like our Sunday coffee and candidates at Union Block Bistro that Hannah, Sam Irons, and I have been doing. We're there just meeting people for an hour every Sunday. I love to have tea time with people. I love answering emails. If anybody in this room has emailed me, I'm sure you were exhausted by the novel that I wrote you back. It's really my passion to engage with my neighbors, and I think that that's a real strong suit of mine.
Okay, Anthony, same question.
I'm a labor organizer, so it's my nature to get in people's faces and tell them why they should care about things. I think that we need to have informed people about why something matters. That's really the important thing. An example, you think about street lighting. That could be a very important thing when you're just kind of throwing it together for a kind of comprehensive plan. But suddenly it really matters when you're talking about doing something that's going to be there for decades. And what if you do something that some communities have done, have chosen the wrong color that affects insects and birds? That's a real thing. You know, so your pollinators are suddenly being affected by a policy decision, so like what Adam was talking about, a poison pill. And I think that farmers should be engaged in that process. I think that anything that a city does, we have an idea of who the stakeholders are. We need to make sure that all those people are at the table in a proactive way. And so we'll benefit more by getting these things done on the front end and having that collaboration. And I'm going to strive to make sure that I do every single time when I look at something, and this is just me personally, if it catches my eye, I'm going to reach out to someone that I think should care about that. But mostly I'm going to lean on the professional, incredible workers here in the Skagit City that have built careers on understanding a problem, and I'd like to listen to them and find out who I need to engage with.
Thank you. Adam, same question.
Well, I plan to engage with our residents in the same way that I have for years, and specifically through this campaign, with transparency, with integrity, and with a nonpartisan lens that's rooted in listening actively and really striving to understand where our residents are coming from. So throughout my campaign, I've held coffee hours in local homes and businesses. I've enjoyed such amazing feedback from residents. I've had the pleasure of working alongside people to improve our neighborhoods and just make new friends. And I think that, you know, things like ward meetings and meetings here at council are important and they're useful, but as was said before, not everyone can make it at those times. Not everyone feels comfortable in the building all the time. And so I think going out to where people are, engaging them on their turf is super important. And I have found that to be highly rewarding. And also it makes it just like we're people, right? We're approachable. And if you feel like you have a relationship with someone, then you feel a little bit more welcome in your own community. And so that's the way that I want to hopefully approach it. And then there's the social medias and there's the putting things on the city website and all the blocking and tackling. But really, I think it's about our residents knowing us and who we are and knowing that they're listened to.
Okay. Hannah, same question.
Thank you. So Mount Vernon, if you go onto our city website, we actually do a pretty good job of having all the information public. So you can watch the videos of the city council meetings, you can look at the agenda, you can look at the minutes, you can look at all those things. People don't know that they're there. They don't even know how to get there, how to find that, where to find the calendar. So we do a pretty good job of having information out there, but people don't know how to engage with that information. People don't know how to provide a public comment, how to come to a city council meeting, what are city council meetings like. So I would really like to focus on doing a lot of education and meeting folks where they're at. So going to our local parks and talking to parents, going to our local schools, connecting with our social studies teachers, doing the work and doing the outreach to where people already are is really important. And I would really like to focus on the educational part, in making sure that people know how to engage with us. They know that we are accessible, that they can reach out to us, that they can just show up randomly to a city council meeting, that they can email us, they can whatever they want. But I think education is a huge part of that.
Okay, next question. Last question. So what is the role of the Mount Vernon Council in helping to secure a Mount Vernon Senior Center, and how can this be accomplished? And we'll begin with Anthony.
That is a really great question. We're having some really big concerns, of course, with the senior center. It's, I believe, county-owned building. There's a lot of maintenance issues. I think accessibility is one of the crucial things that the Mount Vernon City Council can accept. We have a lot of infill property We do have a lot of public property that is available. I think we need to be concentrating on making sure that the future site of any senior center to be moved, that we have as much participation from the public in it and the people it serves. The thing that we also have to be worried about is that any kind of transition, that services are made available. The senior center is not just for seniors. There are people with addiction things that there are meetings that they need to go to. There are lots of services that are provided by the center, just like a library. You know, that becomes this kind of nexus of public participation. So what the city council needs to do is make sure that in any kind of transitory period, that all the services that the senior center provided are available, they're promulgated, they're made a step beyond what's available now, because we cannot leave anyone behind just because we're having problems. We need to make sure that we do extra steps to take care of the people that we serve.
Thank you. Adam, same question?
What Anthony said.
Fair.
Look, I chased all summer to get inside of our current senior and community center and take a tour and see with my own eyes kind of what I had been hearing. And it was disheartening, I'll be honest. I have had so many conversations with members who are involved at the senior and community center, who are really concerned about its future, not just for a building, right? It's a building. I think my great-great-grandparents helped build it or something like that, but it's a building, you know, and what this is really about, it represents community for our seniors, for many people in our community, not just seniors. It represents connection, sometimes the only connection that they have. It provides essential services and is a coordination point for Meals on Wheels, and that goes to people's homes who often have no one else coming to their house. And so it's such a critical community resource. I would really love to see more collaboration being done sooner about what is going on with this building and this property, and how it affects our residents, and start looking for locations like yesterday to replace it. It's going to take a lot of collaboration. It's going to take funding resources. You know, maybe there's something to do with combining senior living, you know, and the community center. So there's ways to go about it, but we just need to come together as a group and do it.
Okay, thank you. Hannah?
Thank you. So this is one of the really great opportunities for our local government to come together, to have our city come together with our county to figure out a solution. I love the senior center. I was a Girl Scout when I was little, for like 10 years, and that's where we met every month. I did Highland dancing, so if you're interested in seeing that, let me know. And that's where we met twice a week to do our dance lessons. So the senior center does a lot to provide services for our community, and it's something that we really need the city to step up to support. We need the county to step up and support. There's also potential for reaching out to the state and other local nonprofits to all come together and really figure out a solution so we can keep the senior center and keep it running and make it even better than it is now. The senior center is amazing, and I fully support the city stepping in and helping it continue to exist.
Hey, Stephanie, same question?
So like everybody else, I love the senior center, and indeed, it is not only for seniors. My students who are young adults with intellectual disabilities volunteer at the senior center, and they learn incredibly valuable skills. They serve lunch to the seniors who, in fact, get lunch 5 days a week. That's an incredibly valuable resource for our community. And it's not just seniors who utilize that resource, it's people who are experiencing homelessness, people who are underserved in other ways. And so my students have learned serving, busing, setting up tables, party planning. They have dances on Thursdays where live music plays. It's an incredibly valuable resource, not only for our seniors, but for everybody in our community. Cascadia Clubhouse, which is also a resource for adults with disabilities, has met there. It's just simply not an option for me to let the senior center fall by the wayside. And so I think that indeed our county and our city can step up and work together to make sure that it continues. We have so many buildings in city property that are being unused or underused. And I think that any of those, would be fine. I realize that the senior center has experienced catastrophic plumbing problems, but also so is my house, and we're still living there, so. Thank you.
Okay, we are gonna move to closing statements, a minute and a half each, and we will begin with Adam.
Well, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. There's not a lot of forums left. I think it's a great way to engage with all of you directly. We'd love to chat with any of you afterwards and meet you if I haven't already. When I think about what the city council is, we're basically electing a board of directors whose policy decisions will affect 36,000 residents and more people who decide to work and play here. And that's a really important thing to consider. I think it's a big responsibility for any of us. So I want to thank all of the candidates who step up to serve in this way and raise their hand and say, I want to help serve my community. I think we also need experienced leadership with people who have hands-on, boots on the ground experience in the issues that we're facing and the crucial issues that we've talked about today. The most crucial ones, I believe, are our housing situation and our city budget. And I am prepared to contribute to both of those based on my 20 years of experience in the private sector and my experience as a housing provider, community-focused developer, and advisor to the comprehensive plan. So thank you so much for being here, and I hope to talk to you afterwards.
Hannah, for your closing statement.
Thank you. Well, thank you everybody for coming, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting this on. Every year I'm always here in person or watching the videos of the forums before I vote, so it's great to be able to participate this time. Again, really I'm running because Mount Vernon is a really, really special place, and I would like to keep it that way. I think it's really important that we all step up and support each other and build community and do the work that we need to keep the services that we have, add to services that we need, and really build the community that we would like to see here in Mount Vernon. If I know there isn't time for folks to ask questions to us up here, but I know we'll all be out there afterwards. You can also reach out to me if you go to my website or in the voters pamphlet that I think everybody has received. My phone number's in there, my email's in there as well. So please, please reach out. We only have a few more weeks until Election Day. Happy to meet and get coffee, happy to answer phone calls or text messages, whatever you want. I'm here to really work for the people. Thank you.
Stephanie.
Yeah, so like everyone else has said, thank you so much for being here. I know that this is a nonpartisan position, but that doesn't mean that candidates don't have values. And I'm really proud to be endorsed by some organizations and institutions that I really respect, like Planned Parenthood, Skagit Indivisible, the Skagit Democrats, the National Organization for Women, Senator Liz Lovelett, 3 sitting city council members. I love this city. I have poured my heart into this city over the last 13 years that I've been here. I organized the first LGBTQ Pride event that turned into a resource fair with gender affirming care, PrEP access, mobile STD testing. It was an amazing event. I helped organize the first Women's March in Skagit County. I have organized the first period pantry to provide access to menstrual products for everybody in Mount Vernon schools. I have been a Lincoln Theater volunteer. I've been a boosters mom, a PTO mom. I have really, like I said, poured my heart into Mount Vernon. I'm here to serve the people who are just like me, renters, wage earners, people who are not profiting off of major PAC money being poured into this election cycle. And like Hannah said, I am also here for you to answer questions. My information unfortunately was not in the voters pamphlet, but thank you. You can contact me anytime.
One breath.
Anthony.
I want to, like everybody, I want to thank you all for being here. We're all participating. I have a bunch of endorsements that I really appreciate. three sitting council members as well, the Skagit Democrats, the 40th Legislative District, Working Families Party, Planned Parenthood. And really, the ones that I want to talk about here, but we have such a short time, are just the individuals I speak to. Union members, working families, people who really care about this community. And while I have a deep appreciation for the brevity is grace thing, you know, there's so much more to talk about than in a minute and a half. And it's so hard to do that, but I'm available anytime. My number is available. All I want to do is talk about how we can make things better. And I would like, as the last person here speaking about this, really end on a message of hope. Here we are, we're all here trying to fix a problem that we see that's happening. We don't have to react in a way that's going to cause problems down the road. We have a path of collaboration. We have the shoulders of giants before us that have led this to this place where we're at. And it's not a precipice, it's a ledge. And you can walk along a ledge and you can get over onto the other path. So we have to make sure that we keep our balance and that we focus on what the community means to us, make sure that's fully represented, and I hope that I can help bring that representation to the council. Thank you.
Let's give these candidates a round of applause.
Yeah. Here we go. That's what we need to use for the inventory for the senior center right there. Yeah, yeah. There's, yeah. Sicilian told me you're in play. My grandparents came over on the boat. Yeah, no. No, it's for sure. Yeah.
I have your back. Thank you. Okay, we are going to start with Mount Vernon School District 320, Director District 2, and Director District 4. And we will begin with opening statements. And I'm going to really try really hard to get the names right. Christopher Gudger Rains.
She did a great job. Give her a hand. My name is Christopher Gudger Rains. I've been serving on the Mount Vernon School District since August of '24. And we moved to the Valley in 2021. And the first people that really lifted up our family as we were moving was the Mount Vernon School District. Folks at Mount Baker Middle School really embraced one of them, and then Harriet Rowley. So now my kids are thriving. And we've really seen the best of the district. And I don't know, like when you see the best, you just kind of feel like, well, this is a high standard. They've shown me the best, so I want the best for everybody. And so I care a lot about literacy. Our kids are really good readers. I just think that makes a whole big difference in their life. So I've been following the literacy standards in our district. I care a lot about family engagement. And I really think that I'm worried about the financial part. And so I've been trying to be attentive to all of that because ultimately we represent you all. You're the taxpayers, you're the funders of public education, and you're the ultimate beneficiary. So we want your investment to come back to you in a great way. So thank you.
James Stewart.
Hey everyone, my name is James Stewart. Born and raised in the area. Don't judge me. I went to Cedar Woolley High School, Skagit Valley College. My daughter, Maddie, is here with me. She's a 5th generation Mount Vernon School District student. Serving our community has been something I've done my entire life. My Eagle Scout project was building the walking running track for Clear Lake Elementary School back in 2003. Most recently, my wife and I have revitalized the Jefferson Elementary School parent group, did an entire playground rebeautification project with the Point to Light grant, We've been supplementing the funding and feeling the impacts of the budget, fundraising for buses, for transportation, for field trips. We're sending our kids back to Shoe Farms at Jefferson Elementary for the first time since the pandemic. We're getting enough put together for that. Covering the cost of new clothes and supplies in the nurse's office is coming from, 501c3s independently to the schools to try and cover some of these gaps. And seeing those cracks and impact is something that's really, driven me to continue to try and engage more and more in a more official position where I can possibly impact some change.
Hey, Wendy Ragusa.
Good evening, and I'm grateful that the league is able to have these forums. It's so important, as Keith Chaplin said, our democracy in action. And speaking of, public education is the cornerstone of our democracy. And I'm so honored. I'm actually running for re-election. I have served for 2 terms, and I love the work. I think it's so important to have very strong schools, like Christopher said, to have a dynamic community. I have 20 years of dedication in working with the Skagit Regional Health Foundation. I am a co-owner with my husband Roger, my sister Krista, and my mother Susan of Wells Nursery, which my grandparents started in the 30s. So I'm also a business person. And I have enjoyed many volunteer opportunities to give back to my community. I think what is most important right now is to continue to have our community feel that we are accessible. We also are proactive to reach out and say, how are your kids doing in our schools? I think it's just absolutely one of the very special places in our community where kids can feel comfortable and safe and thrive.
Sammy Solano Rivera.
Pleasure meeting you all. My name is Samuel Solano and I'm running for Mount Vernon School Board. Malcolm X once said, "Education is a passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today." Now, if you asked me 3 years ago if I imagined that I'd be here, I'd tell you no, I didn't see myself here in this position, but it's thanks to one single individual, one single para-educator that helped me grow to who I am and what I am right now. It didn't matter of my skin color. It didn't matter of the background I came from. Nothing mattered to her. All that mattered to her was my ambition for wanting to study. I come from a family of the working class. They work in fields mostly, 36% of our percentage of our Mount Vernon here in the city. And, what she showed me, I want to pass on to students as well. That is the main reason I'm running for Mount Vernon School Board. I want to pass on what I learned, these things that she taught me, these things that nurtured me to who I am today, to these young teenagers that are ready and that are ambitious to study more. And thank you all for this opportunity.
Okay, we'll move to our first question. In Washington State, the law mandates that public schools must provide education to all children residing within the state's borders, regardless of their immigration or citizen status. Do you support this law? Please explain, and we'll start with James Stewart.
Absolutely. Education is a foundational element for our entire community. Regardless of immigration status, regardless of any status, I believe that education is something that should be made available, encouraged, and pursued by all. Our entire community is that, it's community. And rising tides raise all ships. There is no downside to anyone left or right of you being more educated, being more literate, understanding more about the world about them, having a better grasp of mathematics and the ability to execute their job. And there's no downside to anyone left or right of you having a foundational understanding of technology. There is almost no job left at this point that doesn't require some engagement with technology, whether it's simply clocking into your time card or whether it's actually doing advanced analytics and managing budgets. So yes, I support the law that every person in our community should be getting educated, and we should encourage every one of them to pursue that to the best of their ability.
Wendy.
Yeah, I agree with James. I mean, that is what public education is about, is accessibility to everyone in our community. It is for us as school board directors to ensure that there is a safe place for our students to come and learn and have the resources that they need. I think our schools have served kind of beyond that one definition of being a place where they can belong, where they can exceed, where they can find support, as Sammy did. You know, it's finding just even that one adult that will make that connection with you to make you feel like you belong and you can be successful and, you know, exceed in the academic environment. So it has become quite a challenge in our current state of affairs in the United States, that we ensure the safety of all of our constituents, not only our students, but our staff, our teachers, and their families, to be able to see that the schools can be there as a good support for them.
Sammy, same question.
Of course, yes. Yes, I support this. I mean, when 58% of schools are made from Latino background students, I mean, it's, you know, it's important that we nurture these students, that we grow these students so they can learn more. And even after high school, we want them to actually, you know, be ready for the workforce. And then not particularly necessarily like, you know, right out of high school, you're going to go into the workforce. No, what we're preparing these students for is so they can go out, you know, into colleges, into universities, something they don't experience on a regular. I feel that, yes, yes, it's a strong yes on supporting the law, and I feel like James said, you know, it's very influential for us to support it because, like I mentioned again, 58% of the students here in all Mount Vernon schools make up a large percentage of it, and if we don't take care of these students, you know, what's gonna happen to them? They're currently, yes, I support it, yes.
Christopher, same question.
To me, it's such an obvious yes that it's almost a sadness that we're even asking the question. I can't say it better than James, even though he's my opponent. I would just say that, like, when you invest, it comes back, and when you divide, who gets divided? I don't want to be divided against my neighbor, against anyone based on anything, quite frankly. And the gift of education lifts everyone in the process. I'm really proud of the school district because we made clear statements on supporting and protecting our migrant students. Sorry, I got tongue tied there. And that we have a strong system to support and protect them. We have a brand new equity director who gets with the families all the time. And I just think that we're doing the best we can, support the law, of course, and support the structure that really puts that into action.
Okay, next question. What are 2 goals you would propose for the superintendent, and how would you ensure accountability of those goals? And we'll begin with Wendy.
Yeah, we just approved a 6-year strategic plan. It's very robust. Those are his goals, to make sure that we're looking at achievement gaps, literacy, a sense of belonging, and also looking at our funding. So we have, through the state organization and OSPI, a rubric for evaluating our superintendent. And that is what he will be held accountable for, is how well we're achieving these action goals that are set forth from the strategic plan. You know, we're really fortunate. We do meet twice a month, but which is a formal public meeting, but we're also able to have a very good communication, accessibility to each other, as well as our superintendent, to keep track of things that are hot topics, priorities. I think we have a very, very fine superintendent, Dr. Vergara, and he has pushed a lot of new initiatives it's quite robust, and I'm looking forward to the next period of time where we can see those goals achieved.
Thank you. Sammy, same question.
Can you ask that question again?
I will. What are 2 goals you would propose for the superintendent? And how would you ensure accountability of those goals?
Oh, perfect. Well, I mean, first off, I want to ensure that, equity is being, done because all these students deserve an equal chance. And I'm not just talking about, the students that are very involved. What I want to do and ensure that the superintendent is doing is I want the superintendent to, dig really deep down in the roots of Mount Vernon. I want him to touch every single student's heart. Not only the ones that are involved, but the ones that don't want to be involved. We got, it's all part of our community. They're all part of our community. And if we don't get every single student involved, then what are we doing, But I also, another thing I'd like to do is actually be there with the superintendent. I know that's a very, when you think about it, it's a very hard thing to understand, but no, I want to actually be helping the superintendent, making sure that these things are getting done. Because, the school board job is to take care of these students. And when I ask my friends, when my friends ask me, apologies, what are you running for again? President, right? No, I said school board member. When they hear that I'm running for this position and don't know what it means, that's what really concerns me. I want these students to know that a school board member is out there for them, caring for them the same way this para-educator cared for me.
Christopher, same question.
Could you repeat it one more time?
Sure.
Make sure I understand.
What are 2 goals you would propose to the superintendent? And how would you ensure accountability of those goals?
So 2 goals I would propose to the superintendent are beefing up and strengthening our dual language program. That's one of our flagship programs, and it does great things, and it has some issues, and so I would like to see it get strengthened and that the performance from the students increase. And so the accountability is about talking to him, talking to the principals at the schools, and checking how the scores are going, because that's how we ultimately know. And also the final, the other one is about, we graduate about 85 to 86% of our students, and we're kind of in the average there. We're doing pretty good, but I really care about those 15%, and I want Dr. Vergara to care about this 15%. And I'm not in there every day. I have a day job that's pretty busy, and so I need Dr. Vergara to kind of get in there and help us understand what's going on with this 15% that kind of aren't quite making it, and what is the plan for it. So the conversations, not just the public ones, but the ones that we have internally, really have to, that's the accountability piece. And if we're not seeing progress after a while, what's the new plan? So if there's not a plan, make a plan. Plan's not working, we need a new plan.
James, same question.
I'm aware of the 6-year plan, and I feel these 2 goals are in alignment with it. The first goal would be, again, I've been an officer of the Jefferson Parent Group for 4 years. I have never once had an opportunity for a superintendent to engage with our parent group. Only time the school board made it out was actually public work day for the beautification or the ribbon cutting. So it's very minimal contact. We have these parent groups at each of these schools that are some of the most engaged parents in our district. And I would encourage the superintendent to have a listening session with every parent group in the district once a year. Very easy to measure, very easy to do, starts building a bridge of communication that I feel is missing. The second is similar but different. All of our parent groups are independent 501c3s. There is no PTA organization. There is no district level parent involvement group in Mount Vernon. I would encourage the superintendent to work with parents, sponsor and launch a district level parent engagement group. If we're gonna bridge this gap of communication, of inability to access and find the information they're looking for, to get feedback directly from the people in the schools, the parents are some of the most engaged. I think it's one of the quickest and easiest ways for us to bridge that gap.
Hey, next question. What is your strategy for communicating with the public about how tax dollars and levy funds are being used? And we'll begin with Sammy.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Sure. What is your strategy for communicating with the public about how tax dollars, school tax dollars, and levy funds are being used?
I mean, perfect. That's, touched another point of what I wanted to get to. This transparency point. I want to be, on the same level with these parents, I want to, like James mentioned, he said he wanted to communicate with every parent group in every school. That's exactly what I want to do with, what the question was asked. I want to communicate, honestly with these parents and show them where their money is going, how we're using it, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure other school board members can, further on this. I was never, or my parents were never told, how it's used or where it's going or the issues. But then again, they'll probably lengthen on it. But I just want to be on the same level with parents, teachers, and staff and everyone, so they can understand what's happening, where it's going, and what we're doing.
Christopher.
In a previous place I lived, with regard to bonds especially, they had patron tours. And that was getting anybody who wants to get on the bus and go see the places that the bonds have funded, or where the bond is about the fund. And so I think that would be an easy thing for us to do as a district, because in 2016, you passed a bond and you built a bunch of stuff at the high school. You built an extra wing on one of the middle schools. You did a bunch of other things too. And I think when you can see the return on investment, that builds trust between the community. And most people, I mean, we don't like to pay taxes, but we want to see what are the taxes going to go to. A patron tour where we see what your tax dollars have built. I think we could do that. It would build a lot of confidence that the district is using those funds wisely. We have an audit, comes around every year. We just had it passed pretty well. And so making that public too, so the public can see how your tax dollars are being used. Those are two good things we can do.
Okay, James, same question.
I love the tour idea. A tangible element really helps. I also think that data visualization is key here. My professional background includes, I ran the entire marketing budget for Realtor.com for a number of years. As a data analyst and marketing analyst, I was responsible for multiple business groups with different conditions on their money being spent in different ways on different channels, and reporting back exactly what the impact down to the penny was of $110 million a year. That's not dissimilar to what the school district deals with. State funds, federal funds, different grants, different use cases all come in, and you hear a big number of what the total budget is, but you can't just fluidly move it around. And making that complex situation visualized, interactive, and available to the public, I think would go a long ways in making this digestible. If I could, using like Fathom, it's a data visualization process for financial markets, right? You can plug it in, you can plug it into QuickBooks, you can set all the conditions, you can put it up on the web. We can make the budget interactive, digestible, and explainable in a way that takes away a lot of this mystery. And it'll also highlight for people just how little of the budget is coming from us locally out of the total pool, which I think is something that is lost on a lot of the individuals within the community. A lot of these funds are coming from federal and state dollars, and understanding exactly what that pie looks like, where it's coming from, and what it's going to in a way that is accessible would be huge.
Wendy.
Hi. Yes, thank you. Somewhat contrary to what you just said, James, is that, our federal and state funding continues to shrink. Even though it's a paramount responsibility, you see what's happening, and every day it continues to swing and change. So what happens with that? It drills down to the local districts to figure out. That's each individual school district. There's 295 in the state of Washington. They are not fully funding our budget like they say. And so it is up to us to carefully and thoughtfully determine when we ask the voters who we represent as school board members and taxpayers, when we run those, what we need. And there is lots of research and education involved in that piece of it. It is really hard. It is one of the most challenging pieces of our job is funding, because you don't want to cut things. But guess what? We need to look at what we have available in our funds. What can we do not to harm student, achievement, bilingualism, literacy, and work within those funds. And we hope, and it has been proven, that our taxpayers and our voters have supported the way that the district does manage its budget.
Thank you. Okay, last question. How will you protect intellectual freedom and freedom of speech in schools and their libraries? And we'll begin with Christopher.
Protect intellectual, can you say it one more time?
Sure. How will you protect intellectual freedom and freedom of speech in schools and their libraries?
Well, okay, mentioning the libraries, I'm really against book bans altogether. So we have policies about that, and I would never vote for a book ban unless you can show me that we really need it. But I don't know. I would prefer to have information available to our students so they can be educated and make knowledge-based decisions for their lives. About intellectual property, it is a concern because we have lots of little apps going around right now. And so I'm not an expert on that, but we do have tech people that follow our policies and teach us about how the policies. And I don't want private information getting out. And it's not my expertise, to be honest with you, but if you don't know something, you do the research, you ask the people who do. We have people in the district that cover these things, and that can help us understand.
Okay, James.
When it comes to our public libraries, I'm a, intellectual freedom, free speech absolutist. It's one of my favorite dinner time conversations with Sarah Ward over in Burlington, actually. Both pretty far on that. Within our school libraries, there do have to be some level of safety guards. Hate speech, pornography, filters on search engines are still things that are under consideration. These are still minors. These are still schools. Balancing the need for allowing intellectual freedom, but not allowing slurs and hate speech and the like, becomes a delicate balance for our schools. Understanding what the number of incidents are that we're dealing with, what the challenges of our particular district are, what the feedback from the librarians themselves are saying, would all be keys to understanding what those safeguards should be, or if any are needed at this point. But I think it has to very much be something that is worked with the people that are on the front lines and in the trenches with a full understanding of what is actually happening before any sort of broad or vague answer can be given in this forum.
Wendy, same question.
Yeah, I agree with James. We fortunately in the Mount Vernon School District have not had incidences that have happened recently of book banning or issues with inappropriate information out in the schools. I think what is really great and what's happened when there have been situations is it takes the community, the families to be part of that. So we have curriculum committees that involve members of the community. We have, of course, skilled librarians who are looking at, because it is such an emotional, sensitive piece. And it's so important to have that. It is part of our democracy to be able to honor and respect freedom of speech and a variety of different materials. Of course, they're going to be appropriate for school-age children. And I feel really confident that Mount Vernon has done a very good job in, I'm going to use James's word, safeguarding that right to have that there.
Hey, Sammy, same question.
Can you repeat the question
I
one
will.
more time? Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Go
How
ahead.
will you protect intellectual freedom and freedom of speech in schools and their libraries?
Perfect. Well, I mean, foremost to start off, we've spoken a lot about facts. There's a lot of facts, which is great. I'm a big facts guy. But the thing that we need to focus on as well is that things are happening, as minor and as inconvenient as it might be. They are happening, and you might be asking, Samuel, how do you know this? Well, because I was a student recently, and I've seen these things, and they might not be at a level where, people like the school board members know of it, but there is things happening. And as I was a student, and how I've been connected with multiple groups, my best friend, they're very, very open about everything, and it's like shown me and improved who I am. And I, like the previous people have said, I really want to take care of everyone. I don't want to exclude nobody, and that's just what I want to do. That's who I am. That's how I've grown to be. And that's not a champion myself saying I'm a better human being. That's just me being blatantly honest with you guys that things do happen, and as minor as they can be, they're still very impactful. And I want to change it to the point where we're all together as a community, not hating one another. And yeah, thank you.
Okay, we're gonna move to closing statements, a minute and a half for closing statements, and we'll begin with James.
You know, LWV, appreciate you guys holding it here. This has been a fantastic forum and opportunity to speak directly with the community. I'm very excited to be here with this opportunity to be running for the school board. I feel that my life experience in the Valley, my professional experience with the work at hand, and with my connection with the schools, a daughter at the Venture, one at Jefferson, a niece at Centennial, one of the nieces just graduated the high school, another's a senior, a goddaughter at Washington. About half the schools I have someone in my family sitting in currently, and they're all near and dear to my heart. So again, thank you for the time, allowing me to speak, and I appreciate your vote if I can have it.
Wendy.
Hi, again, I'm Wendy Ragusa, and I am a fourth generation Bulldog, so that green and white runs deep. I've just been so honored to serve my community in this role for the last 8 years, and I want to continue to do so. I just think we have really good working relationship with our staff, families, and our community. I think we have developed some amazing relationships with the MVPD and Mount Vernon Fire Department to provide that important safety that we all expect to have our students and families have when they walk into one of our buildings. I have the experience in this position from a business standpoint, from being a daughter, a parent, a grandparent, and I just think it's so important to have strong schools. I am honored that you voted for me before, and I do ask you to vote on November 4th and think with your heart and your head about who you want representing your schools. Thank you.
Sammy,
My turn?
your turn.
All right. Well, as you guys have heard my spiel, multiple times, but, we've heard a lot of facts right now, but I'm here to tell you blatantly the honest truth. Today we've been fed 2 cheeseburgers. One looks really, really pretty, but inside, it's just a bunch of, condiments all squished together, and then you've been filled with a regular cheeseburger. Now, what I come telling you this is because, yes, like he's mentioned before, as Christopher mentioned before, the graduation rate is 86%. But when we really dig deep in, we see that the college meet 2 standards for students, not only American students, but students of immigrant background, have actually dropped in the last 8 years. Now, when you hear that, you're like, oh, what? I thought our graduation rates were increasing. Yeah, they're increasing, which means we're sending more students out into the world without the knowledge that is necessary to survive. So we're basically just letting them, go. No, that's not how our school board should work. We should actually develop these students, give them rigor, the rigor they want, so they can push on forward in their life and actually be who they want to be. Now, I learned this from my debate coach, and I want to pass it on to other people as well, and other students. And I thank you all for coming here, and I thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this, and thank you all.
Thanks. Christopher.
Want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting. I don't know which cheeseburger I belong to, but I just believe that public education is the greatest thing that America has ever done. This is where I get patriotic and put my hand over my heart because I want everyone to have quality education. When I see the spark in an educated person who's reading, who's discovering the world, and it's right there in front of them and they can grasp it, that just inspires me. And that's the kind of cheeseburger I want to give to everyone. Thank you for that. And I try to be humble and offer what I can to not make promises I can't keep. I've enjoyed serving and getting to know people. I understand that when we put dollars and numbers, that represents people. And so I really care about the relationships within the district. It's a great honor was that 30? Sorry. It was a great honor to shake hands at graduation and know that like 1,000 people made that graduate possible. I think most of our graduates are ready for the world. And I think to be a Mount Vernon graduate should be a great honor. So thank you for letting me serve.
Good job.
That's
Let's
it.
give them a round of applause. I just want to say, please remember to vote on or before November 4th. In the August primary, 294 votes in Skagit County alone were disqualified because they weren't placed in ballot boxes before 8 p.m. or were mailed too late. If using the mail, the U.S. Post Office recommends that you mail a week before Election Day. And that concludes tonight's forum.
All right. Well
Thank
done.
you.